Okay, good. We'll call to order. I know. Good. We'll call to order the City of Douglasville's City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. Our invocation will be done by Reverend Dr. Francisco Artley from Poseyville Church. After that, we'll have our after the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem City Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. As we close out 2024 and prepare for 2025, I personally want to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission and to serve two boards. The thing I have learned the last 4 years is there's a lot of people that give up their time and they care about this city. So as you go through your meeting tonight, remember there's a lot of people who serve on the boards in the city, and they care a lot. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just ask that you give the city council and the mayor the wisdom and guidance to make decisions that are best for our city, Lord, that you just bless them and that you be with them. And Lord, I pray for those that have come, and I ask that you bless them and speak to them as we go through this Advent season and celebrate the birth of our Christ, Lord. I just pray blessings on everyone that is here and on our city. And I just thank you for your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Pastor Artler, we appreciate the invocation and your service on the Planning Commission as well. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville, and this is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only. No official action will be taken this evening, but official action will be taken on the items discussed tonight on next Monday at 6 p.m. at our voting meeting. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your business. And I'll go over a few protocol issues, and then we'll get into the body of the meeting. I ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. We are a city of civility. We've been granted that from GMA. You'll receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this warning and this requirement. A second deviation will result in you us asking you to leave the chambers for the evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience. Cheer, carry on a conversation when you're at the podium. Please address all of your concerns and comments to myself and council members. We'll be happy to speak with you and address your concerns. I'll remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during a zoning meeting with a public hearing that is required for that particular item. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, we'll ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. This is how the agenda will be handled in the following manner, and then after these instructions, we'll get into the meat of the meeting. The committee chairperson will read the agenda, then that person or applicant will come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and then you have your opportunity to speak to us and present your information. Myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions. If it is a public hearing, there's 20 minutes for those that are in favor of that item and 20 minutes for those that are in opposition. And within those 20 minutes, each person has 5 minutes to speak. If you'd like to speak as a participant for or against an agenda item, we ask that you please fill out the speaker card that's outside. It's a blue card. Bring that information forward. Give that information to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker. And that's not Miss, let me put my eyes on. That's not Ms. Vicki over there. Hello, how are you? Oh, very, very good. Miss Candace, our assistant city clerk, and a visitor, and you hand the card to them, and they will put the information in for the record. And when you come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record again for official information. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We're here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions on next Monday. If you have printed material, please give that to Ms. Candace, and she will make copies and disseminate that information to us. That's a whole lot of talking. Hopefully everyone's on the same page and we can understand the meeting. It's good to see you all this evening. So now we will move on with the agenda that's printed. There are printed agendas outside. If you like an old school paper agenda, they're outside on the desk. If not, you can follow us on the screen, and we will move on with the meeting. So our first committee, after all of the presentations and announcements, is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem City Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 items tonight under Finance.
Yes, sir.
Item A, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 2 with Ray Lynn and Associates, Inc. for the Town Green Amphitheater Phase 2 project for the purposes of replacing the motorized truss, electrical scope, metalwork panels, and includes a credit for the warranty of the truss replacement for the maximum cost is $195,824.18 with an additional $25,000 allowance contingent upon requiring additional panels.
Okay.
And Steve, come on up, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Steve Morrow, 2005 Goldenrod Road, Roswell, Georgia. It's great to see everybody again.
Good to see you.
So if you remember back, I think it was probably in June when we were here and we were starting to kick off the Phase 2 of putting the warming kitchen in place. And during that time, we had authorized the design of installing the motors to be able to allow the light trusses that are on the stage to be able to be lowered mechanically as opposed to having to have somebody get in a lift to go up there. And at that time, we had stated that we would do the design, we would work out the pricing and figure out what it was, and then we would come back to you to get permission to do the change order to add this work into the contract. So here we are. So we've done all the work, the design is completed, we worked with staff and TSW to be able to get the design complete. We were able to get pricing back from Ray Lynn. And just as a point, so if in your slides there, you think, you'll see, originally we thought the budget was going to be around $350,000 to be able to do this. Pricing came in at just under $200,000, so around $195,000 to do the work. And just as a reminder, the whole point of this exercise is that when acts come in, they often have their own either speakers or lights that they want to install on the trusses to be able to do. And right now, in order for us to do that, the city has to go and rent a lift. They've got to get somebody in a lift with a harness, go up there, and then do whatever adjustments are needed. It's just not the safest environment for folks to be able to do it. So after operating the facility for a little while, it was really determined that this was needed. It was in the best interest of the facility. It allows acts to be able to come in and modify the stage that allow them to be able to have it the way that they want it, which I think also encourages them to get better acts because they know they've got full capability to do what needs to be done. So we have gone through the process and we understand now. So we'll be able to take that light truss and simply push a button and it'll lower it down to working level or at the floor level. So in that process, we've got to install motors. We've got to modify the structure underneath the ceiling to be able to attach those motors. And then we've got to be able to run all the electrical back into the electrical room to hook all of this up to make it sort of a one-button operation where they can raise and lower the trusses. So that's really what this is all about. I put a little diagram in there. The little yellow highlights there show the trusses as how they hang on the ceiling above the stage. The little diagrams off to the right are where they're, those are the structural modifications that need to be made to the structural members that are underneath for allow us to be able to attach those motors and hang the trusses so that we can raise them and lower them. So that's roughly what this is all about, and this is just for requesting the sort of official permission to allow us to be able to sign that change order and add that money in. We have coordinated with finance, so finance is all up to speed. The money is available, and we're ready to go. We just need final approval so that we can get this done. And the hopes is that we will, one, have this done prior to the first event in the spring, and one of the deals that we had kind of said was that we would get this work done with Ray Lynn while they were working on the warming kitchen. So we're right at the point now where they'll be able to get started right after the new year and get this done in the first few months of the new year and be able to have it finished before the first event.
Thank you, Ms. Morrow. Any questions or comments? Madam Mayor, we'll start with you.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Steve, for the report. It's going to help us to be more efficient and to help our Town Green area amphitheater run more smoothly. I have a question that's kind of a sidebar question. You saved $100,000. I was just wondering, it's like if someone tells me in my account I have some extra money, I'm trying to spend it up. But I just have a question about, we did run into a situation, spring and fall are typically our concert series, but we do have our annual Christmas parade in December. It was last week and it was 32 degrees. And with the wind chill factor, it was very cold. And so our Santa Claus is the octogenarian. I think that's the word when you're 80 plus. And we didn't have any heat out there. And so he was on the stage from probably 5 to went through the parade, came back. There was a line all around the area, after 9:30, 80-year-old plus sitting out there without any heat. And so is there any kind of way we can have a mechanism? I asked about heat, and we were nervous to plug in a heater. We have to go to the fire marshal.
Sure.
It's not like your house, you can just go and plug in something and have some heat, but just, having someone that age and just in general, you had to wait for all the little kids to be Santa Claus, and that's a long time to be outside in below 30-degree weather.
So I think the short answer is yes, right? There is a solution. It just depends on what type of solution. Does it need to be something temporary that you can wheel out there and someone can use when you've got a situation like that? Or you're looking for a more permanent solution where it's stuff that's installed in the roof and it, radiates heat down, and it's a pretty wide open space. So having something, I think, that's a little more directed to where people may be, or someone may be seating with something more portable may be the best option, or at least to try first, before we would make a significant investment in something capital where we would be modifying the building,
Yeah.
running gas lines or doing something like that. But all of it is possible. It just depends to what extent the city would like to go. And we're happy to look at it. We can talk to the engineers and get a feel for some options. We can work with staff and make sure that we get that to you to look at to see if it's something you'd like to pursue.
Okay, and we don't have a lot of events in the winter. It's just as a courtesy to have,
And we
even
can
with the
talk to
kids or
staff,
whomever,
because
it's just, it's
there are
cold.
several portable options that I think that you can rent or even purchase for.
Well,
think
I
a
mean,
reasonable-
propane heaters
Propane
would be
heater,
the simplest
something,
solution.
yeah. Just depends on, if you're only going to use it once a year for one event, it may be worthwhile just renting it for the one event, having it out there and making sure that you've got it when you've got cold weather.
Yes, sir.
But if that's not the right answer, putting in something permanent is, again, we can look at the options and present them to you, just to give you a feel for what it might look like to avoid something like that in the future.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, for that. Item B, I'm sorry, my mistake. I'm sorry,
Yes, thank you,
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Councilman. This was a conversation that we had way before we constructed the amphitheater about the load barrier. I think you and I had all talked about it. Different cities that go in and do concerts, we have to make sure that the weight when we bring in different sound companies and lighting, that they have the quality and the weight can hold. Because when them guys bring the tractor trailer, bring the lighting in, it's heavy and it's dangerous. This is how Curtis Mayfield got his paralyzed. So we don't want to keep coming back, adding to it. So I'm hoping this time it would be good enough and the motors can hold what they are anchoring up.
Yeah, so I think structurally, its ability to be able to support, one, the lights that we have and speakers that we have, that was all factored in, and there is some excess capacity in there that if an act wanted to hang other lights or we needed to take lights off and put their lights on, all of that can be done. And I think the staff as well, now having operated the facility for some time, understand sort of how to take the lights on and off and make sure that we can do and work with any acts that they want to come in. Being able to lower the truss down sort of electrically is just going to make it that much easier, faster, and quite honestly, safer for people to be able to do it at a working level standing on the ground as opposed to being in a lift and elevated 25 feet in the air.
And a good motor, because this year the motor was smoking in the speakers, so,
Okay, well, that's something we'll look at for sure.
yeah.
Okay,
Marcus know, because I brought it to his attention, and
Okay.
and the other brought it to attention.
I'll talk to Marcus and we'll have that, we'll
right.
get it looked at. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Any other comments or questions on this item? Anybody? All right, thank you, Mr. Morrow. Appreciate that report. All right, item B. Adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to allocate downtown and New Horizon tax allocation district funds in an amount not to exceed $197,500 to reimburse the city's general fund for a portion of certain redevelopment costs incurred by the city in connection with Douglasville Town Green Phase 2. And Ms. Callen will handle this.
Sir. Thank you. Karen Callen, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, 6695 Church Street. The City of Douglasville presented an application to the TAD Advisory Committee on December 2nd for a funding request of $197,500, $45,000 for paving, $18,500 for site concrete, and then $134,000 for site work and utilities for a total of $197,500. It was approved unanimously. Unfortunately, Chairman Adams was not able to be there at the meeting, but everyone else approved it. Mayor Pro Tem, Secretary Treasurer, and Councilman Davis was there. So we are requesting that you approve. The second step in this is that you approve the resolution. The City Council will have to approve the resolution which you have before you.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Any comments? Any questions for Ms. Callen? Anybody? Okay, thank you, Ms. Callen, for that. And I'd like to request that both these items under finance be placed on the consent agenda, if that's okay with council. All right, thank you. Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under finance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Housing and Community Affairs, that's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Housing and Community Affairs Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to item number 9, which is Personnel and Organization Committee. That does have a business, I believe, and that's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do
You're
have
welcome.
a couple of items this evening.
Yes, sir.
First up is item 24-358. Adopt a resolution to establish limited special city holidays on the following dates: December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, 2025, December 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, 2026, December 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, 2027, and December 27th, 28th, and 29th in 2028. And Ms. Hampton is going to walk us through this.
Yes, sir. We discussed with you all continuing the practice of closing City Hall the week of Christmas and Christmas Eve. If you all are still comfortable with that, this resolution allows that to continue through calendar year 28.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
Whatever we can do for our staff to make it easier. I know we have staff here that have family away from Douglasville, so it gives them time to travel. So I am totally glad to see this.
I don't think you're going to get anybody saying anything different than that. So unless there is any objection, I would like to have this placed on the consent agenda for Monday's meeting.
Yes, got it.
Okay,
Looks
very
good.
good then. And we will move on to item number 24-377. Adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's personnel policies and procedures by adding section 18-7, use of artificial intelligence AI systems. And this is going to be explained to us by Mr. Jason Post.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jason Post, Community Relations, 6695 Church Street. So what this is a proposal to update some of the wording in our PPP to include usage of AI systems. Since AI is something new that needs to be added to our personnel's policies and procedures. The policy you have before you is a relatively general outline, since this is a continually evolving environment with AI. It is mainly focused on employee training, accountability, and awareness. We have worked with IT to include this policy and some basic training on AI into the cybersecurity trainings that are mandatory for all employees every year. So they will get exposed to this policy and to the requirements to make sure that they are aware that any AI usage, they are still accountable for the accuracy and the ethical use of those systems, and required to go through training before using those systems. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the policy.
Thank you, Jason. I have one question. Since this is a continuously and rapidly evolving
Yes.
system, I would assume, as general as this is in its language, I assume it's going to have to probably be revisited from time to time.
From time to time, yes. We tried to organize it in a way that it was a pretty rough and generalized outline with specifics being left to the IT department for approval of specific platforms.
Okay.
So the IT department can say, this is an approved platform for city
Okay,
users
so
to use.
they're reviewing on a case by case.
Right, so within the
So that
policy.
kind of takes care of, and then they can let
Making sure that everything is reviewed by humans at this point to keep a human element into it processes. We have nothing in the plans to set up any AI systems at this point for the city that are completely responding and outputting things directly to people without a human oversight.
Okay.
There are some functions that can be put into place where people ask questions and the AI system finds answers and generates them. There are some other cities that do that, that are already looking at that. We have currently no plans to do that. That's why it's in there. If the technology ever advanced to where we felt comfortable doing that, we would have to come back and readjust that. But we
Okay.
put that in there intentionally so that
Yeah.
when that step was taken, we would have to intentionally come back and update that because that is a next level step to set that kind of system up.
Yeah.
So we don't want to put anything that doesn't have a human employee checking it before it goes to the public.
That's great. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Madam Mayor?
I do. I know it's communications, Mr. Post, Director Post, but it will affect, of course, IT department, HR, just everyone. And Ms. James, with even minutes and all that stuff, does it affect anyone like that, or?
And the reason we we needed to make sure we went ahead and got this in here is because it will ultimately affect everyone. Because AI systems are getting added to softwares that everyone uses. So when you Google something, you're getting an AI response at the top of your results at this point. Your spell checks and your Grammarly things that are in Microsoft Word, when you're using Word, you're using some AI in there. So everyone is going to be using these technologies, whether they realize it or like it or not. So we needed to establish the policy just so people are thinking about it and are aware of it and are using it just like any other tool that is out there, and knowing that, even if you run spell check on something, you're still accountable to make sure everything's spelled right.
Okay.
It's the same thing with AI. If you're using something within your word processor that rewords something for you, you're still responsible for making sure that it's accurate and correct. So it's mainly just making sure that all employees are aware and staying aware of how it all works and what they're accountable for.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Okay. Then I would also like to have this placed on the consent agenda for Monday as well.
Looks good.
All right. And then our last item this evening is item number 24-403. Authorize the mayor to sign an application for the Georgia Municipal Association Safety and Liability Management Grant, and this will be explained by Dr. Westfield.
Dr. Brian Westfield, 6695 Church Street, HR Director. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
This proposal is for the city's submission of the 2024 Safety Grant. As a recap, this program provides financial support for safety initiatives benefiting employees and the public by assisting with funds for training, equipment, and services that reduce workplace injuries and liability. Eligible expenses include safety and liability training costs, accreditation and certification costs, body armor for law enforcement, and lastly, another example is reflective safety garments. This grant allows $10,000 for workers' comp and another $10,000 for liability initiatives. As of today, the HR department has reviewed expenses totaling over $40,000. There's a breakout in your packet, but what we have so far is the police department has submitted receipts over $20,000, Parks and Recreation over $11,000, and Public Services over $8,000. We sincerely appreciate support on this grant, and subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Westfield. I assume this is a regular grant that we apply for?
Yes, sir, every year.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay. Seeing no questions, let's add this to the consent agenda as well for Monday. Thank you, Dr. Westfield.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
And Madam Mayor, that is all we have for Personnel and Organization Committee this evening.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it, and thank you to staff, our city manager, Director Post, and Director Dr. Westfield for those reports. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We do have a couple of items this evening. The first is item 24-405. It says to consider a request for exemption plat approval for the purpose of combining 0.571 acre parcel, a 0.517 acre parcel, and a 0.431 acre parcel into a combined 1.519 acre lot located at 8558 Lake Forest Drive in Land Lot 21, District 1, Section 5, Parcel ID 0035, application by Van Sant Campbell, and care of Adam Pearson, and Mr. James Gordon is down here to go over this item with us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. James Gordon, 6695 Church Street. This is a private residence on Forest Drive, and
Wood Valley.
The applicant already owns 3 parcels on one large lot. The house is already there. The house is existing. It was, she already bought 2 lots right next to each other, and then there was a third smaller piece that was a leftover lot right behind her. She has already built across these property lines. So this is just to combine all 3 lots into a single 1.5 acre parcel.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I know that makes perfect sense to me. Council, do you guys have any questions or thoughts on this? No? The only thing I would ask is that we do clarify to make sure that we have the spelling correct, whichever way it may be, if it's 1 R or 2 on the Forest part.
Correct.
And are you guys okay with placing this on the consent agenda? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you.
I had a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's behind, is it going to, there's some issues with the property owner on the other side. Is it going to affect him?
No, they already own this land, so they're just combining it, so it will just be 1 tax bill instead of 3 tax bills. So it's not changing what they own or their
Okay.
ownership rights. It's just combining it into 1 parcel.
So so it's no potential, well, they can develop on it if they want to because it's their lot.
They've already developed on it, though. Like, they
Okay.
own 3 parcels. They have the main dwelling is there. There's a detached garage there, and there's a swimming pool all there. And it's kind of spread over the 3 parcels because
Okay.
they own them all 3. But it's just cleaning it up.
Okay, so it's not, because you know what I'm talking about, the neighbor on the other side, we don't want to.
Yes, I'm very
Okay.
aware.
All right, thank you so much. I just wanted to clear that.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Our next item is item 24-310. Do I need to read this off? Mr. Dodson, do I need to go ahead and read this off?
You can read it off.
Okay.
Just won't be taking any action.
Okay, just want to make sure I was doing this correct. Okay. Public hearing to consider a request for a change in zoning from general commercial, public, semi-public, and plan unit development to plan unit development for 82.20 acres located at the intersection of Rose Avenue, Billarp Road, and Land Lot 161, District 2, Section 5, Parcel ID 0017, 0043, and Land Lot 162, District 2, Section 5, Parcel ID 0029. Application by DRB Group, Georgia, LLC, and we are not going to take any action on this item. We're going to re-advertise for it and see it at a later date. Moving along. Last item is item 24-400. Says to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from heavy industrial district to heavy industrial district with modified conditions for 1.124 acres located at 8729 South Flat Rock Road in Land Lot 190, District 2, Section 5, parcel ID 0041, application by 122 Collision LLC in care of Chris Ray, and Mr. Gray is going to go over this item with us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dana Gray, 6695 Church Street. Again, this is a request to rezone heavy industrial to heavy industrial to remove a condition from the ordinance from 2016-61. Again, it's located at 8729 South Flat Rock Road, and it does have an existing building. The condition to be removed states uses limited to recycling only. There are a few homes in that area that we would like to protect with a new condition. If we didn't provide a new condition, it's possible that the heavy industrial zoning could bring in a different type of use that could be kind of a nuisance, or not a nuisance, but could bring some loud uses. It can bring heavy trucks in the area, which would affect the residents in that area. So the new proposed condition would read as such: restricted to a collision repair and finishing business only. So that would, only that use could be used at that particular area. And on December 3rd, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. And now the business is currently operating with a temporary business license also, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and there's not been any issues with it?
No.
Okay. Council, do you guys have any questions or thoughts on this item? No? Since it is a public hearing, we do need to go ahead and open up the floor. If there's anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this item, if you'll come down and give us your name and address for the record, please. And it looks like we don't have anyone, so we're going to move along. Mr. Gray, that makes perfect sense. So we're going to remove the requirement of only recycling center, and
Yes.
then we're going to place a new asterisk on the deed that says it can only be used for, tell me how you worded that again?
Only use restricted to collision, repair, and finishing business only.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we can take this item up on Monday. Madam Mayor, that is all that I have this evening for planning and development.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We appreciate staff, Mr. Gordon and Mr. Ray. And I think that was it, who helped us. All right, because we had one we didn't take action on. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 11, Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's also chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you, ma'am. Move on to item 12, Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business at this time, thank you.
You're welcome. Item 13, Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Verdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have two items tonight under public safety,
Yes, ma'am.
and it reads as follows. The first, to revise Chapter 10 Alcohol Beverage Ordinance of the City of Douglasville, Georgia Code of Ordinances for the purpose of exempting retail package sales of malt beverages and wine in hotels from certain distance requirements. Ms. Callen and Ms. Lynn Woodward. Ms.
Thank you,
Callen.
Dr. Danley.
Yes,
Karen
ma'am.
Callen, Chief Financial Officer and Assistant City Manager. Back on September 16th, an item came before you all for Hampton Inn and Suites, and you had to deny the license because of distance requirements and because it was too close to the college. So now this is what our action plan was for the attorneys to update the ordinance. And then if you decide to pass it, then the applicant will come back at a later date. We'll do the advertising, and Stephanie will do her normal process, and they'll come back before you.
Thank you. Ms. Woodward?
I have nothing to
Nothing?
add.
Okay.
But if you
Thank
have
you.
any questions, it's really, really just exempting the hotel from the distance requirement from college campuses. Basically, it'll be treated the same way as grocery stores currently are in relation to sales of beer and wine.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Callen, our staff will do the same.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have any yes,
Refresh my memory, do they still have restrictions on distance between churches and schools, though? This is just for
hotels.
Colleges, correct. It's my
Is there still a
understanding it's just for
restriction on
colleges.
distance?
But they took it off.
Yep, just for colleges. So
Just
it's
for-
still restriction on high school, elementary, and, yeah.
In churches.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. And for clarity, for the hotel, it was already bottled, like someone would come to the counter and order, a wine that was already enclosed. It's like the mini bottle. They weren't sitting at a bar.
I'm not really sure how they operate within that particular hotel, but they were already able to sell alcoholic beverages. They're now just trying to be able to sell like packet beer and wine from their like lobby shop.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was like a mini, like if you didn't have a mini bar in your room,
Right.
you could buy something at the
You
counter.
can buy a six-pack, take to your room,
Right.
something like that.
So they will not be able to take it out of the hotel, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
yes.
Coach Watts? Yes, sir.
So this is beer and wine only, is that my understanding? Because I
Yes.
keep hearing alcohol, and I always associate that with the other half of that, but,
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
beer and wine.
beer and wine, not hard alcohol, right?
Correct.
And it's not like pulling up to 7-Eleven and going in and buying it and going in your cars if you're staying there.
Correct.
Only for guests, basically, correct, or is that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
correct.
because I think it has to be charged to your room even.
Right,
Or you can purchase it right there,
okay.
right? Just,
Yep, hotel guest only.
right. Any other questions? Is everyone clear? If it's okay, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Callen. We'll go to the next item. All right. Consider a request for the alcohol beverage license for the on-premises sale and consumption of wine and malt beverages at the following establishment. Proposed license, Tees Brunch Bar LLC, location 6700 Douglas Boulevard, Suite 2000. Proposed agent, outlet manager, Ms. Tanisha Forts. The required fees have been paid to the finance department. I tell you, I just love you coming up here every time with a whole new idea. I just love it, love it. Okay, let me hear from you, Ms. Forts.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tanisha Forts, and it's for 6700 Douglas Boulevard for Arbor Place Mall. Of course,
Okay.
it was a burger bar. I changed it.
So tell us what are you gonna do?
Well, the burger bar didn't do well, so I'm trying my brunch bar. I'm trying to have one brand, and the mall needs something different. I didn't want to do a full bar because Johnny Rockets, it used to be Johnny Rockets, and it's too small, way too small.
Right.
So I just want to have mimosas and sangrias and to serve to customers. I think it'll make business do better, grow better, and I've invested a lot of money in this location, and it just didn't do well. So I flipped it over in like a week. I got new booths, I painted, got logos, signs, and I want to try it because I'm relentless. I don't want to give up. I'm gonna keep trying until I get it right. So I feel like mimosas would make it pretty. Sangrias would make people want to come in. I've already had people, all the little guys walking in. Did you get them yet? I was like, no, sir. I'm going tonight. You came yesterday. I told you it was gonna be tonight. I'm going tonight. But then you got to wait the next week. So people are excited about the beer, and I'm gonna be very mindful of the kids because I know
Right.
Arbor Place is very, very kid friendly. So my service, I'm gonna make them be 21. Even if you're not pouring, I'm gonna make you get pour license. I'm gonna do a class with a guy I met from one of my restaurants in Atlanta. He does all the alcohol classes. I'm gonna make them sit down and learn about the alcohol, the importance of carding people and serving the right people. So I'm gonna be very, very, very extra careful on when people come in if they're 21 because it's easier with people, these days, 16-year-olds are like they 30. So I wanna make sure that I'm very strict on who gets it and how they card and what they get. So I just felt like it'd be a good addition to the mall. The mall is excited, and I just want to try to see if this will work. I really feel like it's gonna work.
Your risk taking is phenomenal. I hope that it's contagious. So, and I do like the fact that you're going to up the age to 21. That shows that you are very dedicated in making sure that our children are safe, and you know the ropes you've already given us as far as the training. I'll open the floor for comments. I'll start with our Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's good to see you, Ms. Murray Forts. You're always on the move. We're excited, and I'm happy that you're not giving up in the Douglasville area. We appreciate the investment that you've been doing and praying that it's still going well. I don't know if announcements, you opened up a T's Burger Brunch in Cumberland Mall, used to be the old Ted's Montana Grill. It's been really, I just see, we were eating there, it's wonderful, and hopefully things are going well there, and it'll just spill over into what you're doing here in Douglas with the brunch bar and tea room and Red Velvet and just everything that you've invested. So thank you so much. I wish you the best.
Yes, ma'am.
Praying for
Thank you.
Yes, that's all I had.
Any other comments? All right. If there aren't any comments, we will make a decision on Monday.
Okay, see you guys on Monday.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Have a good to see you.
All right. And our last item is authorize City Police Department staff to accept the 2024 Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Award from the United States Office of Justice Programs in the amount of $18,167 to be utilized for the purchase of our Harley-Davidson motorcycle for Motors Division. Major Brad Stafford.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brad Stafford, 2083 Fairburn Road, Douglasville Police Department. This is just the final stage of a burn grant we apply for every year. It's a non-matching grant, and once we get approval for it, then we will be purchasing another Harley-Davidson motorcycle, which will be a replacement. We're not adding any, we're just replacing some that have come to the mileage and the age where we need to trade it in and get another one.
Great.
If you don't have any other questions, that's all I have for you tonight.
All right. It's easy. Yes, Madam Mayor.
I have a quick question. Good to see you, Major Stafford. What's the life cycle of the Harleys for the police department?
Well, it really kind of comes down, most of our things, we try to be about a 5-year plan on our vehicles. It depends on how much they're driving them and so on. I don't know, the one that we're trading in, I'm not exactly sure what the age on that bike is, but the motorcycles, we usually go longer than the cars.
Okay.
But they don't last as long. In other words, you can't drive a motorcycle 100,000 miles, but we usually get, because those guys are going to accidents and working in an accident, they're not driving around
Right,
all
they're on
night.
20 or...
Right, as much as the patrol cars tend to do. So we usually get a little bit more time out of them, but we have to trade them in at lower mileage.
Yes, sir.
Engines aren't as big.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. As long as I've been on council, I can probably count on one hand how many times the motorcycle has come before public safety, but that's great. The inventory has been well. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. And Madam Mayor, that is the last item under public safety.
Thank you so much, Dr. Berdanley, and thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Major Stafford, and our CFO, Assistant City Manager, Ms. Karen Callan. Thank you so much for that information. And Ms. Woodward, Attorney Woodward. So I'll move on to item 14, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight.
Yes, sir.
Appoint Jason Post, Community Relations Director, as the City of Douglasville's representative to serve a 1-year term on the Board of Directors of the Cultural Arts Council of Douglasville, Douglas County, expiring December 31st, 2025. And Ms. Chelsea Jackson will handle this.
Thank you, Councilman Watts. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. This agenda item is to appoint our current Community Relations Director, Mr. Jason Post, to serve a 1-year term on the CAC. Currently, that position is being held by Mr. Christian Molina. He will be rolling off, and so Jason has volunteered. We didn't tell him to do so, but he's volunteered to serve for that 1-year term.
So Jason,
Come on down, Jason.
Jason,
Come on down.
so what you're telling me, Jason, is you lost the rock, paper, scissors on this?
He's doing extra credit.
Jason Post, Community Relations, 6695 Church Street. I am always happy to serve. However I'm helpful, however I can be helpful.
We know that about you. Thank you for stepping up.
Wow.
Taking one for the team. No, this is an important position to be represented by our city staff. It's just one position, right, on this board each time we
Yes, sir. So if you are an individual serving for the first time, it's a one-year term. And then if Jason Post really enjoys, which he probably will, the next term will be for 3 years, but it's only one for the city.
And whose place are you taking?
He's taken our current digital media, branding and design manager. There we go, Christian Molina. He's currently serving, and he will be replacing him.
All right, well, we thank Christian for the service. And any questions or comments or jabs anybody wants to take it, Jason?
I'll just say, that you're coming on the board at a very important time for the CAC, as they're about to embark on a major capital campaign and begin building a new campus. So this is kind of, you're coming on at an exciting time, so represent us well.
I don't doubt that for a second. And I just want to compliment you on your color scheme of your resume. I think it's fabulous. And those are my school colors, so bravo.
He's a wolf, though.
Color scheme's always a factor, right? Okay. I got you. Any other comments? Questions? Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Excuse me?
Well, speak up, Councilman Councilman Davis.
Excuse me,
Jump in there.
you just coming back from London, you had time to think about it, huh?
Yeah, they caught me while I was jet lagged and said, hey, you want to serve?
Right.
Yeah.
You
Is that
sure?
how that works? So I'm waking up. No, this is one that I'm happy to do. I love the arts, particularly the performing arts stuff. So this is a good time. I have a background in that part. I have a minor in theater. So when they're looking at their new campus, including theater stuff, yeah, that's super exciting to me. So
Okay, make sure Terry Miller's name is on the wall.
I would love to see us get something like they have over in Carrollton with the theater.
Yeah.
That would be huge. Anyway, any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Post. And I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday.
Looks good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Jackson, and Mr. Post. Item 15, Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Elena Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last committee that we do have business is under Transportation Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Berdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight.
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
reads as follows: adopt a resolution approving a project list for the city's application for the Georgia Department of Transportation GDOT Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant, which is also known as the LMIG, for 2025. Authorize city staff to submit the LMIG application and authorize the mayor to sign the local government affidavit and certification and the LMIG statement of final project expenditures in connection with the application. Mr. Greg Roberts.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, city managers and staff. Greg Roberts, 6695 Church Street. I use City Hall address because I can never remember the other addresses. So this list has 39 streets on it for the LMEG 2025. And this is estimated to be just slightly less than about a $5 million project. I do not know which page it is for you guys, but there is a list in there that shows all the streets on one page. And I'm sorry?
Page 8.
Okay, and I printed it out to make it quicker for me, but it does show the wards, and we do have a fairly good representation of all the wards throughout the city. We still base this on the PCI, the pavement condition rating that AECOM has done for us. We will be ready to do another one of those ratings either next year or in 2026. But we keep trying to address the streets that are overall need resurfacing. And I don't know if you guys have any questions for this. If we need to make any changes between now and Monday, we should be able to do that. We could probably even add something if we miss something that you think you would like to see get on there. But we have tried to go pretty wide net getting those streets that are lower on that PCI rating.
Mr. Roberts, thank you so much for this thorough list. Have we assessed Green Street and also, gosh, I just had a brain fog. Green Street, can't think of the other one. Have we assessed Green Street? Oh, Crystal Lake. We've completed the streets in Crystal Lake as well?
I'll have to check into those. So Green Street
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry. Green Street is on there.
and Crystal Lake, Crystal Creek, Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake, the subdivision. I know there was some paving last year in the front. I was mostly thinking, and I spoke with Ms. Hampton about this, and she had a very good point. I know that WSA have been working on the roads over there, so we just need to make sure if they're not done, then we don't need to add those right now.
Okay.
And I haven't driven by there to see. It's been raining a lot, so I'm not sure if they're finished.
Well, I have a trusty helper with me, and he'll look at that and let me know by 10 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. Does anyone else have
We
any-
can take a
I'm
look
sorry.
at that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes, Madam Mayor?
I did have one. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Madam Chairman, and Mr. Roberts. So Green Street is item 20, and I only saw
Yes.
that because I'm looking at Cynthia.
So it is on
Court.
there?
Yes,
It's on
sir.
there. Yes, thank
It's
you.
item 20. But I was wondering about like 21 and the ones that are red hot tamales. Why are there some red ones on the PCI and then yellow, orange, and a lime color? Does
So
that
when you-
denote anything that's like they're more severe or?
Yeah, the lower the number, the more severe or the more need.
Okay.
Now, one of the things, and Todd and Melissa and myself and Corey Jackson, we have discussed hopefully how we will get, and if it's AECom that does the next one again, and I would say they would because they did a great job. But what they do is they do stations on the street, so they may have 8 stations, and sometimes those low numbers is just one section of a street where the street may be 80% good, but it's got one section. And so we've tried to address those by having a contractor go and fix a spot. It may not make the list, but we fix it when we're in the area. We did that a few years ago in the fairways where we had a section from here to that table over there, and we had the contractor just mill up both sides and replace that 20, 30, 40-foot section.
Okay.
So we do that sometimes, but basically this, you see, like that number 22 Stonebush Way, it's red and it says 28. So really what these numbers represent is like a top 10 list. So that 28, you could see that as a 2.8, but they do it as a 28.0.
Okay.
And if you see, like at the bottom, it says on Loxford Street, it says a 45. That's like what would have been a 4.5. So it's
I see.
4.5 out of 10.
Okay.
And so that's what those numbers are. And usually any street that's about 6 or over, it's in really good condition. And as some of you've heard me say before, when a street gets installed correctly and it's taken care of, we should get 15 years out of them. 12 to 20 years. And so if you're getting less than that, it means it wasn't properly installed and wasn't properly inspected and looked after. And I think we have a good staff of people that's helping us stay on top of that now.
Yes.
But some of the streets, and yes, I will take a little credit for it, and I can give some people credit that trained me 30 plus years ago. But streets that I was a part of being installed in the early 90s, we're just now resurfacing some of those. Coach Watts and I talked about some of those. Streets were paved 25 years ago. They're like my face. They're not real pretty, but they've held up well, but they need to be repaired now. And so we don't have a lot of failure in the street, and I know we've got some areas that have some issues, but we do not have a lot of potholes. A lot of times people tell us about a pothole, but we get out there and we realize they're driving off the edge of the road. And so we have to fix that shoulder sometimes. But I believe overall we have a good system of roads. And one last thing, the SPLOST, and I know the T-SPLOST failed a couple of weeks ago, and just coming from me personally, these last 2 SPLOSTs really got us in a really good place. And so hopefully by the next time that would come around, hopefully that's something that the citizens, but I would say, just on behalf of an employee here at the city, thanks to voters for that 2016 and that 2022 SPLOST that has really gotten us out of the basement, because we're not but about 10 years removed from doing a cul-de-sac here and a cul-de-sac there, and we weren't really getting much accomplished, and a lot has been accomplished over the last 7 or 8 years.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on Councilman Davis?
Yes, Mr. Roberts, if you get time, can you take a ride down Carton Street?
Carton?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
Carton.
Upshaw
Yeah.
Mill and Carton, you have to drive on one side, look like Roots is up, bunching it up. You have to drive on one side.
That's a good point.
Is that the dead-end part of Carton, you
It
think?
Yeah,
is.
right.
Okay.
Right at Miss Kendrick house.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so there are questions, Mr. Roberts. If you can just text me if you get to look at those streets, and like I can't put it on the consent agenda, but I want to, if you can text me and we can move on. And then we can go from
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Okay, great.
But I marked through Green Street because it is on the
It
list.
is on there, that is
and I
correct.
apologize,
Yes.
I didn't
No,
readily.
and that was
I didn't
my error.
readily know it was on there.
Yeah.
But we'll look at Crystal Creek, Crystal Lake tomorrow.
Yeah, that was, and you're right, Green Street was
And
on there.
Carton.
Right, and then just notice, council, there is a 30% match. It's, that's been that way, so any questions about that? If not, consent agenda, it is. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. There
Thank
is
you.
no other items, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Burdanley. We appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Roberts, for the report. So we'll go to other business. Is there any other business from council members tonight?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir,
Madam
Councilman
Mayor.
Davis.
I went over and I had got a call from the Snowbird Lane over there by the township, and they have started back dumping a whole lot of trash outside of the dumpster, old sofas and a lot of stuff just dumped out there. That's a Snowbird Lane and Avalon Township. So,
Is it privatized, Mr. Davis?
pardon me?
Is it privatized? City manager, do we have
They
that?
had trouble once before there.
No, ma'am, we'll get with, I know the chief had already reached out to them, and we will go check to see what the sanitation situation is like. And, Major, if you don't mind, asking the chief to reach back out to them about what they're doing as far as cameras. I think they had a tag reader out there at some point as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, staff. We appreciate that report. And thank you, Mr. Davis, for bringing it to our attention. Any other business, any other comments? Or just a few things. I'd like to thank the council for meeting with the state delegation that we had last week, and staff as well. We had legal there and great staff support. We talked about LMIG funding, tort reform, and House Bill 581. So I think it was a really good meeting with our state legislators. And the new hire and awards luncheons that happened last week. Congratulations to everyone that received the new hire recognition and the awards recognitions for staff and some elected officials. Our own city council member, Nicole Miller. How many years did you have? 5 years. Wow, yay. I know, went by fast. So that, and as well as the Christmas parade, was a great success. We had so many people and great comments from everyone. It was a lot of fun. So thank you to the staff for putting that parade together for the community and the support of the elected officials and our official Christmas family, former council member Mark Adams and his beautiful family, grandson and daughter and wife. It was really fun. So those are only the announcements that I have. I don't think we have anything else going on, but I'll see when we get to the police department, because they always have something going on. Updates from city staff, Mr. Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, our city attorney. Our staff attorney standing in, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Our police department, Major Stafford.
We have no business tonight, Madam Mayor.
What? Okay. All right, very good. City manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Just to remind you all that Monday, December 16th is your last council meeting of the year. City Hall will be closed the week of December 23rd. Next week, we'll be sending out all of your information for January. So in particular, please pay attention to your email from Kristen on December the 20th, because it will entail all of the activities for January, including the first meeting of the year, as well as Cities United, and then preparing for your strategic workshop in February. So once we start the top of the year, we'll be raring to go once again.
Thank you, City Manager. I know if you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to us, comments from citizens and delegates, we invite you to come forward and talk to us. You have 5 minutes to talk to myself and council about any business germane to the city of Douglasville. Yes, sir. If you want to come forward, you give us your name and address for the record. I'm not sure. Did you fill out the speaker card? Can you fill it out later? Okay. You can come to the microphone, please, and give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us.
Name Jamie Henderson, address 4055 McEachern Drive.
Okay.
I am coming up today. I think it was talks last meetings about the frozen daiquiri business. And it was a little twisted because I was trying to get a brick and mortar, not a mobile.
Okay.
So mobile was not in the talks. And what I was looking to do was, brick and mortar to be able to sell sealed fermented wine-based drinks to go. To be able to operate outside of our open container area to allow for clients to purchase and consume at home. And I sent off emails, me and my fiance sent off emails about, how it would be done, the laws in Texas and Louisiana. So I just come to try to clear that up because I did not want a mobile,
Okay.
So.
All right. So have you spoken with staff? You had a meeting with staff?
I think even outside of even just hearing what Mr. Henderson is requesting, you all don't have an ordinance that will allow for the type of business that he's looking for. So the question that I would have for the council, you all can let me know later. Legal staff is here. If this is something that you want to pursue, you'll have to change your alcohol ordinance to allow for it. But you currently don't have a mechanism to provide for this business.
Okay. All right. Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mr. Henderson. We appreciate you coming forward, giving us some clarity.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? If not, we don't have any other business to come before the city. I know we have a reception to go to. Judge Bo McClain is retiring, and tonight is his reception at Kimberlite. So it's right across the street from the courthouse. It's from 6 to 8, so I know some of us are going there. We want to say goodbye and wish him the best, Judge Bo McClain, Superior Court Judge. All right. Not having any other comments, then this meeting is adjourned.